Hello and welcome to the Nicole Mason Show, the show where we showcase high achieving women, women who are movers and shakers in their respective industries and vocations, women who have turned trials into triumphs and setbacks into steps that have led to success, and now they are soaring. And today I am so extremely excited to bring to the Nicole Mason Show one of my sister friends, a powerhouse woman of God, doing amazing work in ministry and in the marketplace. Let me read her bio, and this is just the short version of her extensive bio. Dr. Monique Flemings is an international speaker, coach, best-selling author, and serial entrepreneur that uses her over 3 decades of leadership, physical therapy, and ministry experience to transform lives. Through Monique Flemings Enterprises, professional women are unmuzzled to walk in their authenticity and live their best life through coaching, digital education, anthology projects, and intimate retreats. A 15-time author, she serves as a coach to aspiring authors, and most recently was a contributing author on 2 anthology projects with the Dr. Cheryl Wood, my sister friend, and the legendary Les Brown. She is an executive contributor in Brains magazine that reaches 300,000 people worldwide per week. Dr. Monique is also the CEO of A Safe Place Consulting, LLC, a health and wellness company that addresses the total health of leaders, which preserves the legacy of their business. Through her harmony-based programs, clients and organizations are educated with practical tools to bring harmony and well-being, mind, body, and spirit. Taking her over 3 decades of physical therapy experience, Dr. Monique has a unique ability to transmit critical information to prevent burnout, create harmony, and develop wellness-focused behaviors. Along with her other responsibilities, Dr. Flemings serves as the director of affiliate churches for All Nations Collective, an urban church planting organization, and has served as director of clinical education for Fox College Physical Therapist Assistant Program. You can connect with Dr. Monique at moniqueflemings.net or mysafeplacenow.com, and we'll definitely have all of that on our social media platforms. Welcome, my dear sister, to the Nicole Mason Show.
Well, welcome is right. Thank you so very much for having me. I'm so excited. This has been long overdue. You know that. And I am just so honored and so proud and so excited to be here with you on your very own show. You better go, girl.
Well, thank you so very much. And so let's jump right in, because I know that many people in the audience are listening when you start talking about creating harmony and helping people, particularly as we find ourselves in this pandemic. People want to know how to navigate this space that we find ourselves in. But before we get down there, I have to allow you the opportunity to tell people, who is Dr. Monique Flemings and why does she do the work that she does today?
Oh my goodness. Well, you read the bio, honey, and I was sitting there going, who is that person? But at the heart of who I am a Jesus girl who loves to serve God's people. And I just find many ways to serve his people, not only in church, but in the world. And so I am just honored that God allows me this space and this time to be able to do what I do, not only in the church, but in the world, and to help other men and women do the same. So that's who I am at the core. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, you know, I like to just relax with my family, but for me, I am a servant leader. It's all about being a servant leader for me.
Yeah. And so what can you point to? I know there are a variety of things, but what is one thing you can point to in your background, in your childhood, perhaps, that informs this woman that you are today as a servant leader?
Oh, wow. I would say my upbringing in the church. I cannot get away from it. I cannot negate it. It's there. It was in me. And I know sometimes people talk about the church and they may have had a negative experience. I have to say, my church experience, it groomed me. It groomed me for service. It groomed me to want to help other people above myself. And so that was my background. Even as a little girl, I gave my life to the Lord at a very young age. And so just grew up in church. And I let people know that I wasn't always the prime and proper person, but I was always in church and around church. And I have to give honor to the institution of God's church, because the church I've been Baptist, I've been Pentecostal, I've been Church of God, and I've been all of that, charismatic. But that whole training has really melded me into the woman that you see. I'm grateful for my background. It's diverse and I've learned so much, but I don't care what anybody say. The Baptist church is where you get good training. I don't care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is so
Baptist
true.
church know how to train you, baby. And nobody train you like the Baptist church. I'm sorry.
Yes, absolutely. That resonates deeply with me. And so, yeah, having that church background and, being in ministry and in the marketplace, how do you keep the balance? And I think this is where we will, begin to talk about harmony, because, when you think about having, a balanced life, workplace balance, there really isn't a such thing as workplace balance. There is having harmony. So talk a little bit about that, and the work that you do in physical therapy, really helping people to be what I like to call congruent, mind, body, spirit, where everything is in alignment.
No, you're absolutely correct. And as a physical therapist, I graduated from physical therapy school about the same time that I stepped into ministry. So I have been, having this balance, or this war, really. I'll be honest with you, it was a war, because back then it was either or. That's how I was being groomed. You could not be a physical therapist and a minister of the gospel. You had to try to, decide one or the other. And so for years and years and years, I tried to balance it. And so you give a little here, then something's going to go down. When you look at a scale, you're trying to balance it. You put more work in ministry, then you lose out over here. So I began to realize later in life, it took me a long time, ladies, but I learned later that it wasn't so much about balance, but it was more about harmony. And then I came to this conclusion, and this is what I teach. I came to this conclusion and this revelation through God really healing me, that God did not create me to have balance. He created me to be in harmony so that I could carry out my God-ordained assignment in the skin that I was in. It wasn't either or, it was but and. And that took me a long time, but I'm teaching it now. I'm teaching women, especially, how to embrace their God-given gifts, how to use both of their hands, whether it is in ministry and marketplace, or education and ministry, or healthcare and ministry. It's not either or. It is not either or. And I promise you, when you begin to come in harmony with the call of God on your life, then you can begin to get balance, because now you can do what God has called you to do in your skin that He has created you to do it in the way that He has called you to do it, without trying to balance one or the other. So when you're trying to balance something, you're always trying to measure one thing against the other. And so, when I was trying to balance, I was like, okay, I got to be in church this many days to show that I am, going in the right direction as a minister in the gospel. But then if I'm in church these many days a week, I'm going to be physically tired. So now I got to get to work. My patients may suffer, or I may have to call off and take. So all of that is just not being congruent. And I promise you, once I came into a clear understanding and began to realize it was about harmony and about being comfortable in the skin that God created me to be in, I was able to soar.
Yeah. That resonates so deeply with me. You know, my background as an attorney, and the same thing for me around the same time that I finished law school. And in fact, shortly after graduating from law school, right while I was studying for the bar, you know, God called me to preach. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? I want to be a lawyer since I was 9 years old. And now you throw this in here.
My
And
goodness.
so I understand what you're talking about, having that war to try to figure out which one do I do until I went to a conference in Pennsylvania, women's conference in Pennsylvania. And I'll never forget, I went to a workshop and, you know, I went up to the lady and was talking with her afterwards. And she just kind of like, you know, turned her nose up at me. She was like, what do you do? And I started telling her all these different things I was doing. And she was like, well, you just need to pick one thing. And I was like, oh, and I was really dejected. So I know what you're talking about, the war, and then the way people train you, that is one or the other. And I remember riding the train home from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to DC. And my husband picked me up and he saw me walking out of the train station. He said, what's wrong with you? And he could tell this, that, you know, I was really kind of troubled. And so I started sharing with him what the lady said. He said, oh, Nicole, you're all of those things. I don't know why you even let that woman even, you know, get you all worked up. You're all of those things. And you know what? You do them well.
Come
okay?
on now. That's what I'm talking about. That's right. Come
okay.
on.
He said, you do them well. And so to the woman that's listening to us, that has all of these different gifts that God has placed on the inside of you, let this be the green light that you too should work at all of those things. And we're sure you're probably good at all of those things. And so, Dr. Monique, talk about how you began to unfold that revelation about yourself, that it's and but, not and or.
Come on, that's so good. So let me tell you something. You know, in the church, you know, I'm receiving these prophetic words about what God's going to do. You know, God's going to do X, Y, Z. God is using you in this way. And I would always get this prophetic word about God is using you as a healer. You have the gift of healing. And then people will go on, and you know how we are. We got our hands up. We receive it. Thank you, Jesus. You know, all of that. And one day I was at work, you know, as a physical therapist, and a patient said, you know, you're my healer. My God.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I was like, oh my goodness, this is where you want me to heal. It's not so much in the local assembly, you know, on Sunday morning or when someone calls me. It was every day he wanted me to walk in divine healing and be the gift of healing and to bring this Jesus to people that were desperate. So that was the beginning. I started working with all these patients. Back then I had a lot of brain injury patients, and they didn't know what to do with them, basically. And I had this doctor I was working with, and he was like, just give them to Monique, because she seemed like she knows what to do with these people, because you know, by the book, there's no way they can walk or talk or do anything. They're just like, just give them to her. And people were getting healed. So as a physical therapist, I got to be known. This is early on in my career as a physical therapist. I got to be known, even in the healthcare, to send the patients to her. I don't know what she do, but they start walking.
Wow.
So that's when you know you're working with something, when men who are not in God, so to speak, are saying you are a healer.
Yeah. Yeah. And how powerful is that God strategically places us in the marketplace for that very reason, to let our light so shine so that he can be glorified. And that is really powerful. And so now not only are you healing people in your physical therapy work, but you also started writing. Talk about your writing journey.
Oh my goodness, I love writing. So my writing journey began about 20 years ago as I was traveling back and forth to Ghana, West Africa to do my missions work. And I would go there and teach. And I said, you know what? I'm teaching them about faith. I'm going to write a small book so that they will have a book left there. And I don't have to keep coming back. They can use it for years to come, all of that. I wrote a small little book called Building Your Faith. And the purpose of the book was to go to Ghana, West Africa. And some of my friends in ministry said, okay, you can bring it to our church and sell it, and people will, donate the money back to your trip. And so it started out as a fundraiser. But guess what happened? Somebody on the United States side said they picked the book up and read it themselves, and it started spreading like wildfire. People were like, oh my goodness, it's so easy to understand this. It's such a basic book about faith. And that's when I began to realize the power of the pen, the power of writing words down. Now, that book was written over 20 years ago as a manual left in Ghana, West Africa. That book will touch lives that I will never, ever get a chance to physically touch, but by my teaching and by my words, they'll be changed. Now, check this out. A couple months ago, I posted on Facebook that book. I said, this is my very first book, just encouraging authors that it doesn't have to be right. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be out of you. I tell people all the time, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be godly, which means stop trying to do perfection and just do what God told you to do. Girl, I posted this thing on Facebook a couple months ago, just sharing about this is my first book. This is, what it is. People started not only liking it, but sharing. And this young guy said, oh my goodness, my grandmother had this book. I'm just kidding.
You had to think about that one, right?
Oh my goodness, my grandmother had this book, and this taught me about faith and helped me to come into ministry. The men, I got so many testimonies from the men. There was another young man over in on the East Coast. He's a pastor now. He said, I didn't know you, because they know me as Dr. Monique Flemings. He said, Dr. Monique Matlock. He said, this book, I said, I've had this book in my arsenal for years. I said, just look at the picture. Look at the
Yeah.
So that's the power of the pen.
I know, it's so awesome and amazing. And now you have several book anthologies that you have put out. So share with the audience, about those. I know one, I love the title, Daughters Arise. I love that. So you have to talk about the book anthologies.
Oh my goodness. Let the Daughters Arise anthology started out as a project. I was getting ready to write the book myself. And as I was in prayer, the Lord said, don't write this one alone, write it with some other ladies. And I was like, oh, I don't do anthologies. You know how we tell God what we're not going to do? Oh, I don't do anthologies, because I had done anthologies before in the past. It was okay, but I didn't see myself as a visionary author. The Lord said, put it out there. So I put it out there. Women start coming. And the book is built around the principle of collaboration from the Old Testament with the daughters of Zelophehad, and how they came together, and how they came on one accord, and they changed the law. Come on, lawyer. They changed the policy. And so the book is called Let the Daughters Arise. And we have Let the Daughters Arise 1 now and volume 2. So I guess we'll have a volume 3. But it's all about women sharing their story, being unmuzzled, being able to share their truth, their authenticity, not only to help themselves heal, because in writing there's so much healing, but also to be able to leave legacy. And I do coaching with them in the program. We do marketing training. I show them how to start a business as an entrepreneur. So it's not just come in and write your story and pay your fee. We really work through. There's some breakthroughs. It's really exciting to see the women come in one way and then they walk out with their head held high, because they have a finished product. And now, like you, my sister, I got my men's anthology coming up. My men, Brilliant Minds of Black Men.
Awesome so and amazing. Yes. I'm so excited about it, because, this is a time for men to share their stories. And I know from firsthand experience how powerful it is and how liberating it is for men to be able to do that. And, I applaud you for going after the men and giving them the space and the platform to do exactly this, to share their stories. So this is going to be amazing. And I want you to share how people can get in contact with you to be able to be a part of one of those, the third one for Let the Daughters Arise, and the first one for the men, Brilliant Black Men. What is the title again?
Brilliant Minds of Black Men.
Minds of Black Men. I love that. Yeah. So how can people reach out if they want to be a part of either one of those collaborations?
I would love for you to reach out to me. You can send your information to my admin, and that is at admin@moniqueflemings.net. That's the email. Just send your name and information and let us know. So again, that's admin, ADMIN, at moniqueflemings.net. Just send that over. Say, I'm interested in being a part of Let the Daughters Arise or your next upcoming anthology, or I'm interested in the anthology for the men, which is Brilliant Minds of Black Men, or I'm just interested. We'll find you. We'll help you out.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And I know that the men are going to be blessed, but I know the women have been blessed. And, why is it important for women and men to share their story? Why is that important?
Well, especially for us as people of color, a lot of our stories are not told. A lot of our stories are not platformed. What we hear all the time, for the most part, are the negative stories. We hear what's happening in this area, and this person got shot, and this, we don't really hear our stories of triumph. And I wanted to create a platform for women and men now where we could just have our stories of triumph and write our own legacy and write our own narrative. Too many times we've been waiting for someone to give us a platform, build our own platform. It's time for us to build our own table, do our own thing, and give life to what's on the inside of us. The story that's on the inside of you is going to unlock someone else. I know you went through it. It was painful. Maybe it was embarrassing. You have some shame on it. But some woman, some daughter, some child, some man needs to hear your story, because they're going to draw so much strength from it. You don't know. Let me tell you this real quick. Mastering Transition is a book I wrote by myself, and this is a book that changed my career. But let me tell you what blessed me so much about this book. This book is now being used as a curriculum for at-risk children, at-risk teens, in Baltimore, as well as they use this book as a book study for men and women, seniors who were once on drugs but now living on their own. It was phenomenal to come and hear them tell me their testimonies, how that book touched them. So if you are an author, I tell people, stop sitting on it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Stop waiting. You don't know where your book is going to go. And to sit there and to watch two generations. I sat with a mother and a son who both were ex-addicts. Come on, somebody. And they told me how my book changed their life. That's priceless.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I love that. And you're absolutely correct. And I remember years ago going to a writing clinic, a writing workshop at the University of Pennsylvania. And the lady who was leading it, she said just that. Your books can go where you may never go. And that has been true for me as well. And I love the fact that your book is now being used as a curriculum, because that's what we want to do. We want to change people's lives, the very trajectory of their lives going forward. Now, I have to ask you, because our time is winding up. This time goes by so quickly, but I have to ask you about your Apostolic Women Academy, or your community that you are creating. Talk about that.
Well, I love the Apostolic Women Academy, because that's where it's going. Once again, God just gives me things to do, and I just try to be obedient. I tell people all the time, I just try to be obedient. I'm not really, I just do what he says. Apostolic Women class is just coming out of my bosom as being an apostolic woman. I have been a woman apostle, a female apostle now for 20 years. So I was commissioned as an apostle when it was not common. You didn't see a lot of women doing this. And there weren't a lot of trailblazers out there. There wasn't a lot of people you could look up to and try to figure out, what is this? What does it mean to be apostolic? What does it mean to be an apostle, a female apostle? And so I'm training women now. I have 12 women in this first cohort, which is so exciting. I am training them how to understand their call, not necessarily as an apostle, but as an apostolic woman, because there is a difference. You don't have to necessarily be an apostle, but you may be a trailblazer. You may be a builder. You may just always been trying to figure out how you fit in. These women are getting such breakthroughs, and I'm teaching them how to have influence in the various areas, in the various markets where God has placed them beyond the local church, because, the pandemic has showed us we've got to get beyond the local church and begin to carry that mantle and that grace. So it's so much fun for me, because I get a chance to teach women. I get a chance to tear down, poor theology, which I love tearing it down and helping them get some understanding. And girl, because they got this poor doctrine doctrine out there, like the woman at the well. I just love tearing that doctrine down, because that poor woman, they have made her a harlot. And baby, if you understand scripture, she was far from a harlot, but it sounds good. It preaches well. And we just keep preaching the same old stuff over and over again. I'm like, get the woman up out of being a harlot when she was actually a woman of covenant.
Mm-hmm. 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 I love it when God gives us revelation and perspective about, the scripture and, the old way of thinking. And you're right, busting it up. That is powerful. That is so powerful. And somebody may be listening. So I want you to just, share with them really quickly, what does it mean to be an apostle? Because it may be like, well, I've heard that, but what does that really mean?
Sure. So an apostle is a gift, is a office, just like you hear a prophet or pastor, teacher, preacher. It isn't an office. It's a gift. I tell people. Now, it happens to be a fivefold ministry office gift. But for me, the way I teach, I believe all God's gifts are equal. Okay. So I don't believe it's like you're a pastor, then you're a prophet, then you're an apostle, because sometimes it's being taught like it's some type of promotion. Now you're at the top type of deal. I believe all God's gifts are just like this. They are all apostle, pastor, teacher, giver, faith, all like this. I don't believe that's the way he wants us to rank them. I believe it's all linear. But an apostle is one that is apostolically able to cover other people. We are trailblazers. We have the gift to build. We have the gift to build. So I tell people all the time, if you are an apostle, seriously, if you are an apostle, you will build wherever you land. And I say, women, we build wherever our pumps land, but you will build wherever you land. Meaning, if you are an apostolic, if you are truly an apostle, you can build in the church, you can build in the community, you can build in other arenas. If you can only build in the church, you may not be an apostle.
Yeah, I love it. And you say it with such a beautiful smile. I love it.
I'm an apostle. They call me to build programs. They seek me out. When I am sought out, it is usually to build some type of program in education, in academia, because I've taught in academia as well, or, as in physical therapy. And so that is your hallmark, is that people seek you out because you are a builder. You don't have to call yourself an apostle. People will seek you out because they see the grace on your life. But I tell people all the time, if you're an apostle, you're not only building in the church. Have you built a business? Have you built something, else? What are you building?
That's good. That's so good. Boy, our time is wrapping up. We're just getting started.
Okay.
Let me tell you, if you want to share your story, reach out to this woman of God. You hear the depth and breadth of what she is offering just in this little bit of time. So imagine when you're able to spend time with her and the wisdom that flows so naturally out of her, and the anointing that's on her life. And so if you are a man listening, please reach out to her about her project that's coming up at admin@moniqueflemings.net. And we're going to make sure you have that information. If you're a woman and you want to know more about how you break up fallow ground, bust up glass ceilings, break them, walk up through walls, all of those things, you need to be in community where the leader is teaching you, not from just book experience, but from her own lived experience. And so we are excited. Dr. Monique, share again your websites.
Yes, you can reach me at moniqueflemings.net. moniqueflemings.net. Go there. And then the other website is, I think it is bit.ly/ My Safe Place Now. So it's bit.ly, My Safe Place Now. But if you get to moniqueflemings.net, that's the main one. If you're looking for whatever we have to offer, we will get you over to the right site. So once again, that's moniqueflemings.net. Go there, fill out information, and we will gladly receive you for mentorship, coaching, whatever you're looking for. I believe we can serve you.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for being my guest on the Nicole Mason Show. You are awesome and amazing, sister. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing time and space with me here today. And I also want to thank you for tuning in again to the Nicole Mason Show. You can follow me across social media at Nicole S. Mason, ESQ. and my website, NicoleSMason.com. And be sure to join my Facebook group, Confidence Champions, where we are helping women to live confidently with their call and their career. So tune in again for another powerful episode of the Nicole Mason Show. Have a great day.